Not all narcissists are exactly the same. My name's Jared Mello, the wizard of radical self-respect and the shepherd of black sheep. Before I get into today's video, please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please remember to like the video if you like it and comment below your thoughts on the video. But something I hear a lot is narcissists will always cheat, or narcissists will never apologize, or narcissists will always do this, or never do that. And they like to use this black and white thinking when it comes to their behavior. But I don't like to use the words always or never when describing a narcissist's behavior, because there are many different types of narcissism, and there's different levels of severity. The one constant with narcissism is they will have the core traits of narcissism. What are the core traits? They will have feelings of grandiosity and superiority. They will be hypersensitive to criticism. They will lack empathy. They will have a sense of entitlement, and they will exploit others. If they didn't have those, they would not be a narcissist. But that being said, they can look and act on those traits in different ways, and that's why the behaviors will not always be exactly the same. A good example of this is the difference between a grandiose narcissist behavior and a covert narcissist behavior. A grandiose narcissist, they will seek attention and admiration in an overt way. It's going to be in your face, and they might seem more loud in how they do it. A covert narcissist, though, they will do the same thing, but in a covert way. Social media allows for people to seek attention and admiration in a covert and subtle way. All you have to do is make a post or a video, and you can get all this attention and admiration. It's the same trait of narcissism. One looks more in your face, the other one can be more covert. Another common example of this is how they devalue people. A grandiose narcissist, they might be much more abrasive and direct in their attacks and insults of you. A covert narcissist, on the other hand, that will be much more slippery and sneaky. For example, a covert narcissist likes to use tactics like the compliment insult sandwich, and it can be really confusing because on one hand, they might praise you and compliment you, but then they will throw a belittling remark or a subtle jab. Then they might compliment you again, but then they will be condescending and act smug and put you down, but it's not going to be overt. And in some ways, it can be much more tricky when it is so covert because it's not obvious. At least with a grandiose narcissist, when they're putting you down, you know it. Because a lot of times they might have big emotional tantrums and big emotions, so you know when they're upset with you. The covert narcissist, they might be calm, but at the bottom of it, they're still acting on this core trait of having a hypersensitivity to criticism or trying to put others down. And it's sneaky because it is not so obvious, like I said. And it can also be more crazy-making when a covert narcissist does this too, because it's hard to call something out when it's so subtle. It gives them plausible deniability. And if you were to say something about it, they would probably flip the script on you and say, see, you're just out of control. You're seeing things that aren't there. But in reality, trust your gut when it comes to that kind of thing too, because if you felt a certain type of way, chances are it's for a very good reason, and it's because they were belittling you, being condescending, and putting you down, but it was in a covert way, unlike with the grandiose narcissist. But the point of this is they will have the same traits of narcissism, but the behaviors based on those traits, they can look differently depending on the type and depending on the severity of that person's narcissism. That is another thing we don't talk about very much, but there is a difference in levels of severity. A severe narcissist will do all of these things except to the extreme. A less severe version, they might only do it occasionally. Like, it's going to be there, but it's not going to be as severe as the severe version. And that can be tricky too, when it's a less severe version where it's half they're okay, but then the other half not so much at all. And that can be its own version of crazy making as well. But when I was speaking to Dr. George Simon, he had said to me, the one thing he can't stand is when people say all narcissists do this, all narcissists do that, or a narcissist will never do this. And he says, it really all depends. It depends on what type of narcissist they are, and it depends on their level of severity. Another thing that gets misconstrued a lot is their level of self-esteem. Some people will say narcissists are all so insecure, and that is also not true. It's actually a myth. According to Dr. Salerno, in order to be a narcissist, you have to have a grandiose sense of self and feel superior. Granted, their sense of self-worth can be fragile, but that is a different thing than being insecure. Dr. Simon says the compensatory types, they might indeed be insecure, but not all narcissists are indeed insecure. So even amongst the professionals, there can be a little bit of disagreement here, but I think I'm in the middle of that. I think if a narcissist is someone that has a grandiose sense of self and feels superior, that is not insecure. But having a fragile sense of self, a fragile and inflated sense of self, that is a different story. It's fragile, but they still have an inflated sense of self. If they didn't have an inflated sense of self, they wouldn't be a narcissist. But that is another example where I see people generalize. But I try to have nuance with this stuff, because if someone's watching my content and maybe they're with someone that displays many of the other behaviors of narcissism, they have the traits of narcissism, but they don't cheat, for example. This person might now be thinking, well, I'm told all narcissists cheat, and the person I'm with, they are not cheating, so they must not be a narcissist. But that's not true, because they can still be a narcissist whether they cheat or not. A cerebral narcissist, for example, they get their supply from other sources, from intellectual pursuits. Sometimes cerebral narcissists aren't that interested in sex, so it's not a version of supply for them. Now, a narcissist who has supply, maybe a somatic narcissist is one that is really emphasizing their looks and beauty and their body. They might be more likely to cheat, absolutely. All narcissists will be more likely to cheat, but it doesn't mean they all will. A cerebral narcissist, like I said, they get their feelings of self-worth from other areas. They get it confirmed from their intellect, for example. Or maybe they want to make good works of art, or they want to be an author, and they'll get attention and admiration that way. It's not all going to be the same. They're going to have different fuel sources. H.G. Tudor has said the same thing too. What they use for fuel will depend on each individual narcissist. So hopefully what you have learned from this video is not all narcissists will be exactly the same. Yes, they can have many of the same behaviors. Yes, they might even say many of the same things. But the one constant with narcissism is they're going to have the core traits of narcissism. But that's it. The behaviors based on those traits, they can look different. So we have to be careful when we say things like all narcissists will do this or narcissists will never do that. That is not accurate. And the one I hear what they never will do, they'll never apologize or they'll never say sorry. And that's not true. In reality, a narcissist will say anything to get what they want or to avoid accountability. And if that means saying sorry, they absolutely will. Now, it doesn't mean they mean it, and the only real apology is changed behavior. So they might say they're sorry, but if they don't change their behavior, how much did they really mean it? They didn't. Narcissists will say sorry to manipulate most times. They'll say sorry to hoover you and to get you back, but do they really mean it? Most often, they absolutely don't. So that's an example of something people say they never do, and it's not true. Just like they say they will always cheat. Often, not always. We got to know when to have nuance with this stuff. But that's the video here for today. Again, if you didn't subscribe to the channel yet, please do subscribe. If you liked the video, please remember to like it. Comment below your thoughts on this video. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And maybe share this video with someone else that you think might benefit. And with that, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.